Welcome back to What's Up. During a triathlon event held in March at Al Mamza Park in Dubai, an unfortunate event happened when 55-year-old triathlete and UAE resident George Turrell passed out at the finish line. After completing the Olympic category of the triathlon, which consisted of a 1.5 kilometre swim, a 40 kilometre cycle and a 10 kilometre run, Turrell went to the ground and he did not regain consciousness. Physique-tv would like to extend its deepest sympathies to the family of George Turrell, who is believed to have suffered from a heart attack. An autopsy will be carried out to determine the cause of his death. In line with this story, we thought of interviewing a triathlon coach to talk about safe training tips that can be of help to other triathletes while practicing this sport. I had a really enlightening talk with Coach Trace Rogers about this topic. Let's take a look. Triathlons are obviously a very intense sport because you're expected to be involved in all three of the disciplines. What are some sort of essential preparation tips if you want to compete in a triathlon?
I think making sure that your training meets your needs on race day, training in the same sort of temperature, same sort of environment is very important.
And I guess here as well in the UAE, it's obviously a very hot climate, so you'd want to train in the conditions.
Very, very important, because that's the only way you're going to find out what sort of nutrition works for you, how your body responds to it, and therefore adjust your race day plan according to what you learn.
In terms of personal health, are there any medical checkups that you would recommend?
Especially for us athletes over the age of 40, it's a very good idea to have your heart checked. Some blood tests are good. They will show up anything to do with nutritional deficiencies. So those two would be important, yes.
And while you're training, what are some common mistakes that you've seen people make?
I see three. One is going out too hard too soon.
And so I guess the going out too hard too soon is sort of the anti of not planning and training too hard too early on?
That would definitely be one of the things. The other thing is a novice getting caught up in the moment, because this is a fantastic sport. It is a very exciting sport, but seeing a whole lot of other people going out that have actually been out there for a long time and being able to nail a really good PB in a half Ironman and thinking, well, I can do this in 3 or 4 months' time myself. The second one being that people don't train their planning correctly. And the third one is that they underestimate just how important recovery is.
And I guess in terms of nutrition, you sometimes read you should carb up the night before and people go and eat, 4 pizzas and things. What's your view on what to eat the day before the race?
I think it depends on the race. It depends on what your body is used to. Do not try anything new. Also, if you're going for the shorter races, just eat normally and eat good, real food. Stay away from the processed stuff.
And so when you're actually competing in the race, what would be your views on, say, when to slow down, when to speed up?
You need to know your body in terms of if you're going and you're having a really great race and you're close to the end and you know that you've got a little bit extra in the tank, definitely go for it. But I would say in terms of slowing down, it's more start out conservatively and constantly do body checks. Ask yourself questions about how you're feeling, if everything feels good. It's about knowing yourself, really.
And I guess also with how your body's feeling in terms of temperature and the amount of water that you should drink during the race. What are your views on that?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. Very often, people make the mistake of drinking too much in order to cool themselves down. And you actually cannot cool your body down by pouring water down your throat. It needs to go to the big glands, so pour it over your head, pour it under your arms, cool your body down that way. But in terms of drinking, it is a very, very personal thing. It's something that has to be practiced and you need to figure it out. I think a fairly safe guidelines, considering all factors, is somewhere between 500 and 700 mils per hour. This, however, is not set in stone. It really is something that an athlete needs to find out before race day.
Excellent. And so you've obviously competed in triathlons yourself. Do you have any sort of general tips for people that are wanting to take part in a triathlon?
Yes, do it, but do it carefully. Get into it slowly, pay your dues, learn from mistakes that you make in the smaller races, and gradually build up to the longer distances if that's where you're wanting to go.
Okay, that's great. That's very useful advice, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.